And another note to self that I has wow, I can speak one language properly, and even that language I cannot speak properly. That's sad. Anyways, another thing that has like been on my mind a lot lately is like how I'm just not able to perform an action without overthinking it. I'm over analyzing everything, and there are so many videos on how, like, oh my god, you're like now a spectator of your own life and you're not living and you can't do both at the same time. I completely agree with that. But how do you stop, bro? How do you stop being a spectator of your own life? Nobody's telling me that. Like, they do say it, they tell you to stop, but how? Because once you start thinking about how you should stop being a spectator, you're like spectating on you're spectating, which is just weird. But I'm not saying this is a solution, but this is at least a step for me, okay? And that is that I think a lot of spectating has to do with like you constantly comparing what you're doing to like this particular benchmark. And for me, a lot of it comes from the fact that I'm comparing what I'm doing right now to what I did in my past because I made mistakes in the past and I don't want to make the same mistakes now. And I keep figuring out those mistakes as I make them now as well, but I'm not changing anything because I'm so involved in like analyzing why I feel weird instead of just like what, that's the question, right? Instead of what do I do instead of doing that. And I think the important thing to do is like if your mind does like hit this moment where you're just like, oh, I did this, I made this mistake before, I'm not going to make it again, or like, you're trying to like, you're constantly comparing yourself to your past self. This might be super like hyper specific for me right now, but in case anyone else feels this way, what you do is like, I haven't tried it out, I'm going to try it out, but um obviously there's no quick fix. I just feel like this is just one thing where if you're constantly comparing yourself to your past, it's pointless. No, just say no, because you're gonna feel weird. I'm constantly feeling weird. I feel weird even when I'm spectating myself. But the whole thing is that like if you're so stuck in the past, you're literally not being yourself. Like if you want to even be like the tiniest bit more advanced than your past self, like if you want to have changed, if you want to have been more secure or whatever, you need to stop spectating yourself, because when you spectate yourself, you are literally just like living in the past, completely living in the past, and it's doing nothing at all. Like if you're a very like binary person like me, this or that, well, here's a binary no. It doesn't help at all, not at all, not in the slightest bit. And if you are like, see, imagine that like you stop spectating and then you're just like no, and you shut your brain off and you just try to exist. Feel it for a bit, okay? Just feel it for a bit. And if you're like, damn, I made this mistake, okay, you made this mistake, you made this mistake for the 100th time, fine, you made it for the 100th time for the first time, because it's way more dangerous to constantly be in fear of making the same mistakes, because then you just don't speak up. And I'm saying this because I've experienced very specific scenarios in the recent past, and I just don't think it's worth it at all.